He never deleted her voicemails, even after she was gone. For years, they sat in a forgotten corner of his phone, a digital archive of a love that time couldn't erase. His name was Arthur, a retired librarian who found more comfort in the quiet rustle of old pages than the noisy clamor of the modern world. His wife, Eleanor, had been the opposite, a whirlwind of laughter, vibrant colors, and spontaneous adventures. She was the one who dragged him out of his dusty books and into the sunlight. Eleanor was a prolific voicemail leaver. She'd call just to say she saw a funny-shaped cloud or to remind him to pick up that specific brand of jam she loved, or sometimes for no reason at all other than to say I love you before hanging up. Each message was a tiny, perfect snapshot of her spirit. After the accident, Arthur couldn't bring himself to listen to them. The thought was too painful, a fresh wound he wasn't ready to touch. But he couldn't delete them either. Deleting them felt like a second, more deliberate loss. So they remained untouched, a silent testament to a life lived so fully. Years pass. Arthur's hair turned from sultan pepper to a soft, snowy white. His grandchildren, once toddlers, were now teenagers, more interested in their own phones than their quiet grandpa. He lived a life of routine. Morning tea, a walk in the park, an afternoon with a book. It was a peaceful existence, but a muted one. The vibrant colors Eleanor had brought into his life had faded 2 shades of gray. One rainy Tuesday, while fumbling with his old smartphone, he accidentally opened his voicemail inbox. There they were, a list of unheard messages, all from her. His heart gave a painful lurch. He almost closed the app, his thumb hovering over the back button, the old fear resurfacing. But then, something shifted. Maybe it was the gentle patter of the rain against the window, or the quiet loneliness of the house. But for the first time, a different feeling emerged. Curiosity, a longing, not just for her, but for the man he was when she was by his side. With a trembling finger, he pressed play on the oldest message. Arte, it's me. Don't forget, we're trying that new Italian place tonight. The one with the checkered tablecloths. Wear your nice blue shirt, the one that matches your eyes. I'll be home by 6. Can't wait. Love you. The sound of her voice, so clear and full of life, was like a jolt of electricity. It wasn't just a recording. It was Eleanor, right there in the room with him. A tear slid down his cheek. But it wasn't a tear of pure sorrow. It was mixed with a strange, sweet warmth. He could picture her perfectly. Standing on a busy street corner, phone pressed to her ear, a smile playing on her lips. He could almost smell her perfume. He remembered that night, the checkered tablecloths, the delicious pasta, the way she'd stolen a meatball from his plate with a wink. He pressed play on the next one. Hi, honey. Just calling to say, I saw the most beautiful sunset on my drive home. It was all pink and orange, like a painting. It made me think of you. You would have loved it. See you soon. He remembered that sunset. He'd been grumpy that day, frustrated with some minor inconvenience at the library. But when she came home and described the sky with such wonder, his own frustrations had melted away. She had a gift for that, for pulling him out of his own head and into the beautiful, fleeting moments of the world. He spent the entire afternoon listening. There were dozens of messages. A frantic call about a lost set of keys that she found in her pocket 2 minutes later. A whispered I love you from her office, so she wouldn't disturb her coworkers. A cheerful, off-key song she'd made up about their cat, Mr. Bigglesworth. Each message unlocked a memory he thought was lost, a door opening into a room he hadn't visited in years. The gray in his world began to recede, replaced by splashes of color. The pink and orange of a sunset, the red of a checkered tablecloth, the blue of his own shirt. The voicemails became his new routine. Each morning, instead of just grabbing a book, he'd listen to one. It was like having a cup of coffee with her ghost. He'd listen to her remind him about a dentist appointment from a decade ago, and he'd chuckle, checking his calendar to make sure he was still on top of his current ones. He'd hear her excitement about a weekend trip they took, and he'd pull out the old photo album, tracing her smiling face with his finger. His grandchildren started to notice a change. Grandpa was smiling more. He was telling stories they'd never heard before. Stories about their vibrant, funny grandma. One day, his granddaughter, Maya, found him sitting by the window, a small, sad smile on his face as he listened to his phone. "What are you listening to, Grandpa?" she asked gently. Arthur paused the message. "Your grandma," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "She was just telling me about the time she tried to bake a souffle and it exploded all over the kitchen." Maya's eyes widened. She'd only known her grandma through faded photographs and her grandpa's quiet grief. This was something new. Can I listen?" Arthur hesitated for only a second before nodding. He unplugged his headphones and turned up the volume. Eleanor's voice filled the room, laughing so hard she could barely speak as she described the chocolatey mess. Maya started to giggle, and soon Arthur was laughing along with her, a deep, hearty laugh he hadn't let out in years. From that day on, listening to the voicemails became something they did together. Maya and her brother would curl up on the couch with him, and Arthur would play a message, a voicemail of the day. They learned about their grandma's terrible sense of direction, her love for bad puns, her unwavering belief that a hot cup of tea could solve any problem. Through these tiny, recorded moments, Eleanor came alive for them. She wasn't just a picture on the wall anymore. She was a person, a presence, a part of their family they could finally know. The voicemails didn't just preserve Eleanor's memory, they rebuilt Arthur's life. They bridged the gap between a past he could unbear to face and a future he was learning to embrace. They connected him to his grandchildren, giving them a shared legacy of love and laughter. The archive of old messages was no longer a monument to what was lost. It had become a living, breathing storybook. One evening, after playing a particularly sweet message for the kids where Eleanor simply called to say she was proud of him, Arthur went back to his voicemail inbox. He scrolled all the way to the top, to a message he had recorded himself just that morning. He'd never done it before. He pressed play, and a new voice filled the quiet room. It was his own, a little shaky, but clear. "Hi, Eleanor. It's me. The kids are here. We just listened to your souffle story. Te lo bed, italiano te lo vi. I just wanted to say thank you for everything. You're still bringing the color into my world. I love you, too." He ended the message, and for the first time in a very long time, he didn't feel like he was talking to a memory. He felt like he was just leaving a message for his wife, knowing that somewhere, somehow, she would hear it.